¿Qué pasa to the pack? It is Pack here. We have the 5th roster update of NBA 2K23, and this is the first one in like a month. It's the first one of 2023. There are actually an insane amount of changes, so this might be a little long of a video. I'm going to cover every single NBA team and their massive changes in today's video. If you like that kind of content when it comes to NBA 2K23, ratings, changes, and all that kind of stuff, I'm going to be doing it all 2023. So please join the pack and subscribe. Let's get it, man. We start off with the Philadelphia 76ers, as I always do, and we go with James Harden back into the 90 overall club +1. He has been probably the best playmaker in basketball right now and has been an integral part of why the 76ers are looking a lot better lately. Now, this is a really good sign for the 76ers. Everyone's finally healthy. When Tyrese Maxey and James Harden are back, with Joel Embiid playing at an MVP level, they could be contenders. They just got to see how they do for the second half of the year. Let's wait and see. James Harden, 90 overall club. For the Milwaukee Bucks, we have Brook Lopez +1 up to an 83 overall. It makes him solidly with Bobby Portis as the 4th best player, who also got a +1. Both are looking very, very good. And Brook Lopez is looking like a defense player of the year candidate, so very good. But then you have players that are in downgrades. For example, Grayson Allen -2 from a 78 to a 76. So what this means is that this team is very top heavy. Their 5 best players are like really good, and then everyone after that is struggling, apparently, at least according to 2K. But besides one player, AJ Green, who is added to the roster +3 to a 70 overall. He's getting more minutes and apparently a bigger role, and that's why he's been given a higher upgrade, and that's it for the Milwaukee Bucks. For the Chicago Bulls, Zach LaVine has been doing very solid lately. Now, they're still not really winning the games that they need to win, but Zach LaVine has been doing good. I hate the gap between DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. I genuinely do feel like they're closer than this, but at least I give him a +1 to make that gap a little shorter. Then you also have Andre Drummond -1. The sad thing about Andre Drummond is that he's clearly still a great rebounder and can finish under the basket. But in this NBA, that's not really helpful anymore. And that's a damn shame because he clearly has skills, but not skills that any NBA team needs. For the Cleveland Cavaliers, Donovan Mitchell +1. This is the highest rating he has ever received. On the Cleveland Cavaliers, he has really been shining. It's impressive how good he's been doing this year so far. Would not have been surprised if they gave him an even higher rating, and the Cavs have been one of the best teams in the East because of Donovan Mitchell and also Darius Garland. So it's a big deal. For the Boston Celtics, the best team in the NBA rating, I guess not rating-wise, but record-wise, you have a couple downgrades. You have Malcolm Brogdon -1. I talked about this in my other video, that Malcolm Brogdon has clearly not been doing good offensively at all. So like field goal percentage wise, he's been atrocious in the last 10 games. Marcus Smart, I do think is a better player just because he's so much better of a defender and like his role is way more established. You know, defensive player of the year, obviously, right? So I think he should be at least tied with him. You have Al Horford dropping out of the 80 overall club to a 79 overall, and you have Derek White -1 down to a 78. So a couple downgrades for the Celtics, but the thing is, they're still so good that it kind of doesn't matter. The Clippers, a shock downgrade of Kawhi Leonard, a -1. I thought they were going to upgrade Paul George. That's what I personally thought they were going to do to make him tied with Kawhi Leonard as a 91. But instead, they just dropped Kawhi Leonard, and Paul George is still below Kawhi Leonard. Look, this is what I think. I think that Kawhi Leonard should have stayed because he's still coming back from injury technically, and so it's like it's going to take him a little bit. So I don't like that they technically downgraded Kawhi. They should have upgraded Paul George. But a downgrade that does deserve to happen is John Wall -2. He had been way too rated high. He was an 81 overall while having an atrocious season. No, he should have never been rated above Russell Westbrook. I have him as a 79 overall. 2K also has him as 79 overall, -2 for John Wall. And then Luke Kennard +2. You know, he's been really inconsistent these last 2 years. He has moments where he looked like an 80 overall club member, and then he has moments, you know, where he's only driving 12 a game. Like, look, he's a great three-point shooter. I think everybody knows that. And if he's given the chance to hit the shots that he needs to hit, he's fantastic. He just needs to be in those positions, but 79 overall for Luke Kennard. For the Memphis Grizzlies, we have Desmond Bane -2. Well, that sucks because Desmond Bane was clearly the second best player for a while, but ever since Jaren Jackson Jr. came back and everyone's playing at the same time, Desmond Bane's, I guess, usage has dropped a little bit. That being said, give him a little bit of time. You know, this usually happens when like a main player comes back into a team. People need to readjust and give Desmond Bane a little bit to readjust to this new roster. Steven Adams +1. He has been, I believe, the leading rebounder in the NBA in the last 10 games, which is a massive deal. And then Tyus Jones +1. He's entering the 80 overall club for the first time in his career. Y'all know how important the 80 overall club is for a player. And I mean, this is a big deal for him. He's really upgraded this year for sure. For the Atlanta Hawks, you have John Collins +1, making him tied as the third best player of the year. I still think that we expected John Collins to be a lot better, and they needed him to get a lot better if they wanted to be a good team. So it's a shame that he's only an 82 overall, but he is slowly upgrading. But a crazy one is Onyeka Okongwu +1. This is the first time in his career being in the 80 overall club. This is a major step for a player, and Onyeka is looking like he's been that important. Now it's because Clint Capella has been hurt. His role has been, bumped up. And I guess obviously Trae Young makes centers look really, really good, but still, it's a good 80 overall club enter for Onyeka. A lot of heat changes and technically a lot of downgrades. We have Jimmy Butler -1, back down to a 91 overall, back to where I think he needs to be. This is a good rating for him. I think this is the best. I think this is the actual correct rating he's needed to be for the past couple of years, in my personal opinion. This is right there, that sweet spot. You have Bam Adebayo +1. I'd argue he needs to go even higher. He's been probably the best player in the last, I'd argue, 2 months for the Miami Heat. You have Tyler Hero +1. He's been an amazing scorer and kind of up there. I think this is the highest he's ever been rating-wise in his career. You have Kyle Lowry out of the 80 overall club for the first time since like the Rockets days. This has been a first time out of the 80 overall club in forever. And then you have Orlando Robinson all the way back here with a +5. 7-foot player. I had never heard of him really. I have not watched enough Heat games clearly, but Robinson getting a role and doing pretty good in that role. For the Hornets, Mason Plumlee +2, back into the 80 overall club for the first time in a while. You have Kelly Oubre Jr. down -1, but he's been hurt. He's still in the 80 overall club. And then you have Gordon Hayward -1 to a 77 overall. Also down, lowest rating he's had in a long time. Finally, 2K has answered my prayers. Correct changes for the Utah Jazz. First up, Lauri Markkanen +1. He has legit looked like one of the best power forwards in the NBA all season, and it hasn't stopped, which means it's not a fluke. Lauri Markkanen's legit. You have Jordan Clarkson +1 and Mike Conley -2. My prayers have been answered. Look at that. Jordan Clarkson's been the second best player on the Utah Jazz by far, and they finally gave him that correct rating. Mike Conley's still solid. He's a good defender, good playmaker, but not anywhere like close to what he used to be when in his prime. He's a 79 overall. It's a good rating for him, but Jordan Clarkson was clearly the second best player on the Jazz. For the Sacramento Kings, it is Domantas Sabonis +1, 88 overall. I do think this is a little of an underrate. I do think he should be around an 89 to a 90. Statistically, he's been playing that way. His field goal percentage is absurd. He's one of the best rebounders in the NBA, and they're winning games. I'd argue Sabonis should be in the 90 overall club. That's just me. And then Terrence Davis all the way back here -2. He's been going up and down for a couple years now. Not really a crazy change here. For the New York Knicks, a lot of changes. Julius Randle +2, making him the best player on the Knicks, and this is the highest rating he's had, I believe, since his 2021 season when he was like amazing, right? He's been having a really good year. The Knicks are winning a lot of games. He's been putting up like the same numbers he was putting up back in his prime. Awesome performance so far by Julius Randle. Jalen Brunson +1. He's also been fantastic. It's impressive how good the Knicks have been. They've really shut up everybody and like proven that they're actually valid. Mitchell Robinson +1, looking like one of the best defensive centers in the NBA and is continuing to do so. And then Quentin Grimes, who's become a starter for the Knicks, +3, has been fantastic. I mean, an amazing three-point shooter, great defense. He's earned this. For the Los Angeles Lakers, a lot of changes. Without Anthony Davis, Thomas Bryant has stepped up in the 80 overall club, +3. He's been a good shooter, a good rebounder, a good defender under the basket, scoring. He's actually been an integral reason why the Lakers are somehow winning games and really stepped up. Russell Westbrook back into the 80 overall club. Freaking finally, bro. We have begging for this for 2 years. He's back. He's back. He's been an amazing player off the bench. I still argue his rating's way too low. He deserves to be higher, but he's been hella disrespected by 2K. Finally in the 80 overall club. Dennis Schroeder +3. He's been a starter for the Lakers. Has been a really important piece. Hitting shots. They've needed a 3-point shooter. He stepped up and created threes and making them. So that's massive. And then Lonnie Walker -1. He's also been injured, but like he's not the 20-point per game scorer he was at the beginning of the year as of today. For the Orlando Magic, Franz Wagner goes +1, tied as the best player on the team with Paolo Banchero, who's been slowing down a little bit. And then big one is Markelle Fultz +2. Wow, one of the highest draft picks a couple years ago. had so many issues with his career of being afraid to shoot, having hitches in his shot, injuries, is now back and actually looking like he could be that good of a player. That's exciting for him. You know, he's looking like a good playmaker. It's a good step forward for Markelle Fultz, and hopefully he continues to grow. Big alert. Luka Doncic +1, tying him as the best player in the NBA. You can't tell me this isn't valid. I know that Giannis is an amazing player on both offense and defense, but man, can Luka really do it all? He can hit crazy shots. He's an amazing playmaker. He rebounds. He hits a crazy efficiency around the basket. Like, it's just, he's so creative and skillful, and he's carrying this team that has no business being as good as they are. Luka Doncic is by far in the conversation as best player in the NBA and tied with Giannis Antetokounmpo. And Spencer Dinwiddie -1. Yeah, the rest of this team has not been very good compared to Luka, huh? For the Brooklyn Nets, we have a couple changes. First, Kyrie Irving, 90 overall +1. This is the first time he's been in the 90 overall club since the Boston Celtics days. It's been that long. TJ Warren +2. Bubble Warren is back low-key. They consider him the third best player on this team. I'm happy for him. He's been injured for a long time. Ever since the bubble, he's been injured. And now getting an important role with the Nets and actually playing well, that's a massive upgrade for him. You have Ben Simmons back in the 80 overall club +1, and Nicholas Claxton enters the 80 overall club with a +1 for the first time in his career. You have 5 players in the 80 overall club for the Brooklyn Nets, and it's a massive upgrade for them, and it's important ones. And then Yuta Watanabe has turned into an amazing shooter, a guy that was getting clowned on for getting dunked on all the time, not really a good player, to being an integral part to the Brooklyn Nets. Yuta Watanabe is here, +2. For the Denver Nuggets, Jokic +1, so that means we have a 3-way tie as the best player in the NBA. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Luka Doncic, and now Nikola Jokic. Jokic is a 2-time MVP in the conversation for winning MVP for 3 years in a row, which no one has done since, I believe, Larry Bird. That's crazy, bro. Nikola Jokic is insane. The shots that he hits, everything that I basically just said about like Luka, Jokic also does. It's pretty insane how good Jokic is, even though his defense is not great. The scoring and the offensive presence and the playmaking is insane. We also have Bones Highland +1 entering the 80 overall club for the first time in his career. And you guys know I've talked about this guy a lot in previous 2Ks, and I could tell that he was going to be great. It was only a matter of time. For the Indiana Pacers, Miles Turner +1 from an 83 to an 84. He's still that shot blocker, 3-point shooter that everybody knows him to be, and he's having a good start. The Pacers are winning games. Like, they're looking like they could be a playoff team. Buddy Hield +1 back into the 80 overall club. This team is looking valid, and it's all because Tyrese Halliburton is making shots easy for everyone else. For the New Orleans Pelicans, we have Trey Murphy. He's going to go -1. You have Jose Alvarado, who's going to go -2. And then Willie Hernangomez +2. So a couple changes on the bench players for the New Orleans Pelicans, but nothing crazy. For the Detroit Pistons, Bojan Bogdanovic, he's going to go -1, and then Jalen Duren is going to go +2. So pretty big changes. For Duren to become the third best player on the Pistons after kind of having a quiet year, that's a big step. I mean, a 79 overall is always good for a rookie. And then you have Bojan, who, you know, he's going to go up and down a little bit. I mean, he's just the bucket getter of this team. It's not really a big deal. The Raptors, bro. Okay, so Pascal -1, which I disagree with. He should not have gone down. Fred VanVleet -1. We talked about how important this was because he was having a bad season, and it's finally kind of showing rating-wise. But the most important one is Gary Trent Jr. +2. This has been the second leading scorer on the team and has picked up his defense again for the rest of the year. That's an important piece. And in my opinion, as of the last 2 months, he's been the second best player on the Raptors in terms of performance on the court. Personal opinion. For the Houston Rockets, we have Alperen Sengun. Now, he's going to go +2. I know Rockets fans adore him, and he's actually showing that when given minutes, when given like role and chances, he's a very good player. Let's see if we can continue it for the next couple years. The Spurs, kind of a weird one. So Trey Jones +1. He's almost in the 80 overall club, which I would have never guessed. I didn't expect him to be as solid as he is. It's been pretty impressive. And then Zach Collins +1. Zach Collins is a funny story because he's been riddled with injuries, but whenever he played, everyone was like, oh, Zach Collins low-key might be pretty good. You're starting to see that a little bit with the Spurs. Now, we're at the wait and see. It's still pretty early, but if he can stay healthy, I can see him being a pretty good player. With the Phoenix Suns, we have Chris Paul -1, deserving. Even though I do think he's picked up his play lately, the scoring, the playmaking is there. It's everything else. The defense is kind of slowed down. The efficiency is better, but it's still not as good as it was in his prime. He's just getting older, and it's showing. DeAndre Ayton goes -1, making him the tied as third best player on the team with Bridges. And then Landry Shamet goes +2. He's kind of been an all over the place kind of player these past couple years, more of a role player more than anything, but he's having a good stretch for the Oklahoma City Thunder. SGA +1, 92 overall. An insane rating for this man. I think this is probably going to be the rating that he stays at. He's been pretty consistent all year with his points. The team has not been winning, so you don't ever expect him to have like a super high rating. This is a good rating for him. I know that he would have a higher rating if he was on a better team, but this is still a good rating for him. Josh Giddey +1. I mean, someone else on this team has to do well, and he's the only other option. So Josh Giddey having a good season for the Timberwolves. They've been doing okay without Cat. You know, they're doing their best. But Rudy Gobert has not been the reason for it. -1. He keeps going down. I'm surprised Anthony Edwards didn't get upgraded because he's been averaging hella points. I expected him to go up like +2 or 3. But Rudy Gobert goes down. Naj Reid goes +1, making him solidly the 5th best player on the roster. For the Blazers, Anthony Simons -1. You know, it's funny. When he has good stretches, 2K doesn't want to upgrade him, right? But the moment he has an ever so slightly bad stretch, 2K just nukes the man. Insane that they downgraded him. But he has had kind of an stretch, so I guess this is fine, but it's still annoying. A pretty important one, Jordan Poole +1, putting him over Draymond Green. Jordan Poole's officially out here in the conversation for second best player on the Warriors. Now, I still believe personally it's Andrew Wiggins. I think if we look back on this season and last season, we would think that Andrew Wiggins was the second best player. But Klay Thompson's still that great three-point shooter that we know he can be, and Jordan Poole's been the leading scorer whenever Steph Curry has been injured, so you know, it's definitely a debate. We also have Kevon Looney +1. He's had such a quiet year, but he's just that anchor, that force on the team that does his job so well that he's an integral part, honestly. And finally, for the Wizards, Porzingis -1. Not really a big deal. He's going up and down, but he's still being relatively consistent. More than anything is Rui Hachimura +3, almost in the 80 overall club. He's kind of had a comeback year lately. He's been very, very important for the Wizards. And man, it's a shame because when everyone's healthy, this Wizards team is supposed to be good. It's a shame that no one can be playing good at the same time. But Rui Hachimura has stepped up +3, almost in the 80 overall club. Those are the major changes. A lot of them, I think that there's definitely missing some. Like Anthony Edwards definitely should have gone up. But what do you guys think? What did 2K miss? Leave it in the comments below and I'll discuss it in my next video. And if you like this channel, please give it a sub. I'll see you guys next time.